In security matters, the tug-of-war over CISA. It's August recess on Capitol Hill. The Senate floor is quiet. But lawmakers' offices are witnessing a flood of action from groups that support and oppose the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act. For more, I'm joined by Joseph Marks, cybersecurity reporter for Politico Pro. Joe, let's start with the opposition. A group called Fight for the Future wants Facebook and Google to join their cause. Bring us up to date.
This is a group that includes a lot of the privacy think tanks, a lot of other privacy organizations, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the American Civil Liberties Union, Access, groups like that. They somewhat famously were sending faxes to members of Congress right before the bill failed to reach passage before the August recess. Now they're turning their attention to large data storage providers like Google, like Facebook, saying, you stand to share a lot of information with the government if this bill passes. There could be personally identifiable information in there about your customers and about citizens. We want you to get off the sidelines and make a statement about this bill.
Now, on the other side of the CISA divide is a coalition called Protecting America's Cyber Networks. They want lawmakers to finish the bill. Well, who are they and what steps have they taken to defend CISA?
This is a group that includes a lot of the major business associations, and they're essentially keeping their the pressure on Congress, trying to tell them, we want you to pass this in September as promised when you get back. They're also trying to take the argument away from the privacy group, saying, hey, we care about privacy too. This isn't about sharing personal information. It's about sharing cyber threat indicators, IP addresses, things like that. This isn't about your personal information, they're saying.
Tim Pawlenty, CEO of the Financial Services Roundtable, defended CISA on C-SPAN's Newsmakers this month. Here's part of that interview.
The opponents to this bill say, hey, look, we don't like this bill because we think the government's going to share my personal information. It's really important to distinguish. We're not talking about sharing personal information. We're talking about sharing cyber threat information. I wish the bill wasn't called information sharing. It should be called the Cyber Teamwork Bill. It would be a better label for it.
He may have a point. Now, privacy groups disagree. Here's a statement from the Stop Cyber Surveillance Coalition. CISA allows vast amounts of personal data to be shared with the government, even that which is not necessary to identify or respond to a cybersecurity threat. This is because CISA permits companies to leave personal and identifying information in indicators it shares with the government. So, Joe, who's telling the truth here?
You know, it's tough to tell until the bill is in its final form. One thing that's irked privacy advocates a lot is that the bill doesn't exactly say precisely what a cyber threat indicator is. And there's a reason you want to have a little bit of ambiguity there, because it can be a lot of different things at a lot of different times. But they say there's no hard and fast assurance that people's personal information won't be included in what's shared with the government. And it's also not clear exactly what the government's going to be allowed to use this information for until the bill reaches its final form. There were some amendments before Congress left for recess that would have expanded the number of things they can do with this bill, for instance, bringing criminal prosecutions, going after people's information they find for other reasons in the bill. We won't really know until they get a final bill and it gets an up or down vote on the floor whether or not how much personal information could be in it.
Now, earlier on Government Matters, we covered the New York Times ProPublica report about the Fairview program. In 2011, telecom giant AT&T started forwarding more than 1 million emails a day to NSA headquarters in Fort Meade, Maryland. Will this make the effort to sell CISA more difficult? Is it even fair to link these two issues?
It will, to the extent that it keeps the NSA in the news. You know, a lot of people said, as CISA was working its way up to passage for so many months and for a couple of different Congresses, until NSA reform passes, that's the roadblock. That needs to happen before CISA can be seriously debated and passed on the floor. NSA reform is out now. It took a lot of work to make that happen. So the more that people are thinking about NSA reform, the more difficult it's going to be for Congress to seriously consider and pass this bill, the more pressure there is going to be for them to step back from it.
I think you're exactly right. All right, before you go, let's talk about momentum. Congress has struggled to pass substantial cyber legislation for years. Do you think CISA has what it takes?
It's really not clear, and this goes back to what we were saying just a moment ago. You know, NSA reform passed, but if you look at how that passed at a point when bulk collection had actually already been stopped because they'd passed a deadline. You know, there was a lot of momentum behind that thing to get it passed, and it was still incredibly difficult. So the idea that CISA can reach that, it's very far from assured at this point.
It's good to get your insight. Joseph Marks, cybersecurity reporter for Politico Pro. Thanks again, Joe.
Thank you.